Today was an absolute disaster in the stock market. We need to talk about where we could go from here. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education, and today was so ugly. If it was an animal, it would be a blobfish. Absolutely disgusting. Matter of fact, even if you search in Google ugliest animal, that's exactly what comes up. All right, so we'll take a look at the technicals on SPY, on QQQ. We'll take a peek at IWM as well, give a few updates on Bitcoin, Nvidia, and Tesla, just to talk about, give a little bit more flavor to what exactly is happening in the market and what could go on from here. And I also want to just make you aware of some economic catalysts that we have coming up. If you look on Trading Economics at their calendar and make it onto the US like I have, you'll see that tomorrow 8:30 a.m. is GDP, the advanced estimate for Q2. The consensus right now is that we come in on a quarter-over-quarter basis at 2%, and that gets annualized. So we'll see last quarter was 1.4%. This could actually be a boon to the stock markets if it comes in stronger than expected, and that can even help us out with what we could look at for exactly servicing our debt, for example, because debt to GDP is one of those important ratios that we have out there. That's like, is our GDP enough to keep on servicing our debt? We have to find out. And that also is in tandem with the interest rates that we have that are partially controlled by what we see with the federal funds rate that's out there. That meeting is next week on Wednesday. So we also have initial jobless claims, by the way, 8:30 tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that one. Some softening there. Could be further bad news for the markets if we have a tighter number here. It could be all right, but it's hard to say. It's a little bit nuanced because, once again, we're looking for Fed rate cuts, and we don't want to see those pushed back from what they are, although I think we're still looking at nearly 100% chance for at least a 25 base point rate cut by the time the September meeting rolls around. On Friday, we have personal income and outlays, which include the PCE, the personal consumption expenditure numbers, at 8:30 a.m. Be on the lookout for that. We also have Michigan consumer sentiment final numbers coming out at 10 a.m. They probably won't change much from what we saw 2 weeks ago. But those are the economic catalysts that we have coming up. And like I said, next week on Wednesday is where we hear from the Fed. We get the interest rate decision, and then at 2:30 is when we hear from Jerome Powell himself. So these are big market catalysts coming up. Make sure that you mark your calendar. All right, so let's bring that down, and we're going to go over to the charts themselves, and we're going to start looking at the different technicals that we have here. So QQQ, I said to watch out for those 50 days. I shared it over my stock group. You can see my buys and sells and everything like that. If you want to see those technicals too, they're there. Check that link down in the description for the Patreon. Click that, sign up, head on over to the Discord. Now, we sold down below this. That's not great for us. That's a bearish sign. We are looking to see where that retest happens. I have taken a position to play the bounce should we get one tomorrow, because after being down nearly 3.6% today, which is the worst day, as I look back through, it looked like since August of 2022, we had a day where we were down over 4%. When I searched up on Google, it said other times that came from intraday time periods where it said about 3.4% down. This one's worse than that. So it backs it up even further and even farther to a Friday in August of 2022. So not all that great. Now, mind you, if we do bounce, what we're looking for is for resistance right off the 50 EMA or SMA that's right through here. I do have some technicals on here, but it does make it a little bit messy to look at. And I do also want to share with you that we were looking for a potential head and shoulders. Man, it happened quick. Thank you, Google and Tesla, by the way, for your earnings reports, because that was definitely a catalyst that puts into question just how far the AI push is going to go for us if we're at the top of it, if we're starting to put it in question. And I think putting it in question, and also along with the other economic catalysts that are out there that really help to push us down below that, we did find ourselves in this green area here, which is an area of support. And you can see I have that labeled here with support area. If we go to the hourly chart on this, you can see a little bit more detail, including the bearish channel that we've actually really started trading in over these past several days. So going back to the beginning to middle of July, all the way up until now. So about 2 weeks worth of forming this channel. So 1, 2, 3, there we go, confirmed, 4, 5. And so watching for that bounce, not only did we get just a horrendous day of selling, but also that puts us at the bottom of this channel. And so now we could see ourselves making it back up into this area, which is kind of a free floating sort of area. And we got to watch for retesting 472. If we can't retake 472, we're most likely going to get rejected from that resistance area and sent back down to lower lows than what we're at right now. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm playing the bounce as it goes. I took a short hedge position yesterday. As a matter of fact, I took a straddle on the Qs using SQQQ and took out my call options for that, closed those out at 100%, and then I kept a hold of my long position on that, figuring that tomorrow we get a bounce, recover some of that cash from the call side of that straddle. Looking at the S&P, where does that put us for the S&P? Well, we actually found support at the 50-day, and that's why I talk about it as being such an important line in the sand that we have. So this is something very critical for the SPY that we want to keep that 50-day as support. Breaking down below it, once again, we're watching for a retest that happens. Should we sell down below, come up, retest, and then set on back down? And you can see my technicals that I have on here now that I started drawing. Watch for the drop below 542. We actually closed just below 542, so I can move that line down. I can even say 541 on this one. But below 542, things start to get a little bit dicey, just so you know. And the fact that we closed below it, not all that great. So we want to see what tomorrow brings, most likely a bounce. And then we also have this line of resistance that you see, this white line right through here, that if we fail to make it back up over that, we could likely send back down from that as well. So IWM, what do you got in IWM? I deleted my technicals on this one. You can go back and watch my other videos for what I have for that. I am going to reconstruct them, but it just got too crowded from the updates of the technicals over time. I wanted to start fresh. So here's a nice naked chart for you where you can see the high wicks that we have on the candles, indicating that we could potentially get some selling pressure here. Some of the selling pressure that we get in the Russell 2000 stocks could be what we see from the overall indices that we see selling down more in sympathy with what was there. Now, do I think that we're heading off to all-time highs in this current run, which would be at 244.46, by the way? This is the weekly chart that we're looking at. So for the weekly chart over here, back in the end of 2021 is when we had that all-time high of 244.46. I don't know. Excuse me, I don't know that this is that run that gets us there. I do think that we have a bit of time where we're going to rest for a little bit, relax for a little bit, and then the run that follows that one should be the run that really puts us on a good trajectory to getting to that all-time high. So I think that there's still major opportunities with the Russell 2000 stocks ahead of us, and IWM is an ETF that tracks those stocks. So Bitcoin rising wedge pattern right here. You can see the symmetric wedge for consolidation, broke to the top side of that one, rode along this, but now we're finding the support and resistance here, making a rising wedge pattern for us. Sold out through the bottom, retested it, sold off some more, riding along the 200-hour moving average that we have on here. As this is the hourly chart, you can see it in the watermark in the back of the chart here. If we can't get back over that as I record this, it looks like we're testing out the bottom of this. We could possibly sell off even more for Bitcoin. So we got to watch for further selling ahead, at least on an hourly basis for Bitcoin. We'll see where we go. Nvidia. What happened with Nvidia stock today? I got technicals on this one too. I hid them from you just so that way we could see what's going on. I updated my stock group on this one before as a matter of fact, before the market opened, saying, to watch for 118 to hold a support. If it fails, down to 115. Below that can start to be a mess. We actually closed at 114.25 in the pre-market and post-market here. We're retracing back up a little bit, but we have closed down below the 50 EMA and SMA. If we can't get back up above those, then we could sell down further from there. Here's the technicals that I shared with my group. Once again, kind of busy, but in my stock group, when I post this in my technicals on watch channel, I do offer other commentary over there as well, describing a little bit more of what I'm seeing. So you can see the support area that we have here, that we're in free fall. If we get down into there, free fall down to about 110. And then we have another support area. If we break down below 106, we have another free fall area down to about 96, which is where we find this gap over here that has yet to be filled. Now, mind you, there's a lot of sentiment that goes along with this. There's a lot of doubt going in right now that, hey, maybe big tech put us at the top. Well, next week we have earnings from other big tech that's out there. And before I get to Tesla and all that, let me just show you, if I go to my big tech watch list that's on here, you can see Tesla already reported, and Google here trading below its 50-day. Matter of fact, a lot of selling pressure on that one. Maybe some further drops to come. We're going to have to watch and see. It is possible that we do retest before dropping more. Maybe that includes part of the bounce that we have tomorrow if we get that bounce at all. Now, we still have Microsoft to report, and Microsoft down below its 50-day. Nice strong selling day for that one as well. Amazon also yet to report, down below its 50-day, although it is at the bottom of a bullish channel right now. Apple, where's that? Still up above its 50-day, but below the 13 and 5 EMAs on this one, and the RSI about to cross down through 50. Tomorrow, there's a lot of evidence going on here that we could get a bounce before potentially a further sell if we can't retake some of these moving averages that are out there and overcome some of these technical hurdles that we have, and especially where resistance is involved. Now, mind you, we have already heard from Netflix as well, and then Meta is the other one out there. Meta having quite a day today, already having sold off. It was actually in this rising wedge pattern that's right here. Let me shrink that up so you might be able to see it a little bit better. There you go. We broke through the bottom of that. We had a second rising wedge pattern forming just below that, broke below that, and now it looks like we could come down to the 200-day that's on here as well. Now, mind you, what we're listening for, just in case you missed it in my other videos, or just in case you haven't seen it in my other videos, we are listening to hear from the big tech companies, because Nvidia is last. Out of all the big tech that's out there, Nvidia's fiscal quarter doesn't end until the end of July. They report at the end of August. So we need to find whatever insights we can from big tech reporting, and if they don't talk about continued demand for the Nvidia parts and services, then that's something that can keep on putting holes in the AI armor, that can keep, especially where the NASDAQ 100 is involved and the big tech, that can keep it selling down. Now, mind you, as that de-risking comes down, I think that that's also a sentiment decline that we're going to get, and that could also flood some of that money out of the Qs, out of NASDAQ 100, out of S&P 500 stocks, and it could push some of that capital over to the still somewhat beat up Russell 2000 stocks that are out there. It could also potentially find its way to crypto, although that's kind of up there right now too. I think that the market is going to start looking for where the biggest opportunities are, and the Russell 2000 stocks still are one of those places where that's offered. All right, let me tell you about Tesla real quick. Like I said, guys, if you want to see more of my technicals, see my buys and sells, meet me over at the Discord available through the Patreon. That link is down in the description. Also, there's a link for a technical analysis trading course. You can get access to that by clicking the link and then heading on over. And then I have a chapter in there on options as well if you want to be introduced to options. So here's the Tesla chart. I got it on a 1 hour chart just to see what's going on here. You can see we found some buying pressure right around 214, 215. And I don't know that the selling is done for Tesla. I mentioned about that in my morning video this morning. I think that we could be heading down to 200-day support. And we do have a gap to fill, that gap 213 to 219. We almost got down to the bottom of that gap. This is going to be a support area for us, especially as we get close to 213. So watch for that bounce. If we fall down below that, then that can take us down to 205, which is where we currently find that 200-day. And the 50 is coming through. The 50 EMA is already up there, nearing for support. The 50 SMA is still lagging the 200-day simple moving average at 202. So I think that we're going to find a lot of support, not only around the 200-day, around the 50-day down here in blue and yellow, but also a $200 round number support, I think, is also what we have to look forward to as we get down to these values. So this could be something, especially if we dip a little bit below 200, that really sets up for our next buying wave that we have for Tesla, especially as we get close to October the 10th. We could get a little bit more hope coming back in, even if it doesn't necessarily send us up to that $300 price tag in the near term. I don't know. Like I said from this morning's video, I think the biggest message from Tesla is 2 words. I think it's not yet. Not yet for the next big bull run that sets us up to 300 or beyond. I don't think that we get that yet. I think that we have to wait at least another quarter or two before we start hearing brighter news. 2025 to 2026, those are going to be two very important and critical years for Tesla, that we start to look for that turning point. And the reason that I say that the essence of the message from Tesla was not yet is that everything is down the road. Everything is eventual, coming from Elon Musk during the earnings call. And right now the market's like, hey, show us the money. Tell us that it's coming this quarter. Tell us that it's coming by the end of 2024, and we're there for you, pal. However, that's not the message that we got during the earnings. And so I think that we're going to have a tough time getting that sentiment up high enough and get excited enough to take us back up to that 270-ish level, let alone the 300 level. I do think that we're going to be finding out where that ultimate support is. I do think that it's going to be higher than what we had back here in April. And I also think that it could potentially be higher, depending on what the overall market does, higher than what we had back here, like 172-ish. I think that this is an area that we could settle into. Probably at the top of this, made about 190 or so is where we come down to. I don't think that the earnings were terrible. I think there's some concerns out there, and I think that there's some proof to be shown in terms of further revenue growth and also expansion in those margins, especially where energy and storage is involved. If you guys want to see my coverage on that, check out the video from this morning or from yesterday morning when I talked about my Tesla stock price prediction and earnings projection, because I gave more detail there as well in both of those videos. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think is going to happen with the market down in the comments, or just stop in and say hi. I'd absolutely love to hear from you. Like I said, if you want to see my buys and sells and more of my technicals, that link for the Patreon is down in the description. Click that, sign up for the Discord, and then meet me and my community members over there. We'd absolutely love to have you. And if you want to learn to do technical analysis trading like I do, like I said, that link is also down in the description. Thanks, guys. I really do appreciate it. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.